You might think a ballot proposal to end a so-called slavery loophole in a progressive state like California would be way ahead in the polls. Well, you would be wrong, because right now, California's constitution bans slavery and involuntary servitude except as a punishment for a crime, much like the Constitution's 13th Amendment. But Proposition 6 would close that loophole in California and stop prisons from forcing inmates to work. Yet the latest statewide poll shows likely voters are more likely to say they would vote against the measure than for it, 56-41. The proposition has lost ground in the last month. My next guest helped draft that proposal. Sam Brown began writing it while he was an inmate being forced to show up for shifts in hospital facilities early in the COVID-19 pandemic. Sam, thank you for being with me. I want to talk about your experience in just a moment. But first, there are no opponents to this on the ballot, no argument against it, no organized opposition. So why is it failing in the polls?
Peace, Victor. Thank you for having me. I would say it's because a lot of grassroots organizations have pulled together to raise awareness around this, but it's challenging. You know, it costs a lot of money to get a bill before the public and raise awareness. And quite frankly, we haven't had the money that's required to really put it out there on a large scale. So I think awareness is the issue. I mean, I would love for us to have the Kim Kardashians, the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Coles, everyone that's made, you know, a stand against mass incarceration to really come out and throw their support behind this bill, because that would help us a great deal.
Tell me about your experience. As I mentioned, during the early days of COVID, while you were incarcerated, you were being forced to sanitize hospitals. Tell me about it.
So right before I do that, I just want to make it clear that I didn't get here on my own, Victor. And I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all of the organizations and the people that have took a stand to fight against slavery, specifically the 10P program, the Love We Don't See, Ronnie's House, all my Yes on 6 ambassadors, Max Parthas, and my Mass and Liberation family. Right. So with that said, I was incarcerated. I did 24 years. I served, 24 years off a life sentence. And I was the first person in the state of California that had to disinfect with somebody in a carceral setting, that had to disinfect with somebody tested positive for COVID-19 because a staff member brought it in, and then they passed it to the prison population. Despite the fact that I had taken thousands of hours of self-help programming, earned 3 college degrees, and graduated from Cal State LA magna cum laude, had I missed one day of work fighting against COVID-19, they would have given me a 115. And the 115 would have had me go into the Board of Parole hearings and be considered a risk to society. It would have resulted in like a 15-year denial. And at that time, I seen my neighbor die from COVID. The guy above me died from COVID. Someone else died from COVID. And I was terrified for my life. And I expressed that to my supervisors that, hey, I'm scared to come in here because we don't understand what's going on right now. Droves of people are dying around the world. And they told me I had to come to work. And if I didn't come, then they would write that 115. And when I went to the Board of Parole hearings, that would have resulted in a 15-year denial. And it would have negated all of my rehabilitative accomplishments, all of the hard work that I've done, and the person that I've become today. And that's really what involuntary servitude and slavery looks like.
Yeah. I mean, when it's on the ballot, and we've seen it in other states, voters overwhelmingly say, yeah, we don't want to do that. We're not going to force the incarcerated to work. Other states, they have Oregon, they've gotten it off their constitution as well. There is also in California Proposition 36 on the ballot this cycle, increases penalties for repeated offenders of some theft and drug crimes. Is there some blur between the tough on crime supporters of 36 and the effect on Proposition 6 ending this involuntary servitude?
That's a great question. And 100% there is. You have the tough on crime legislation is oftentimes historically supported by large organizations and corporations that benefit from prison labor. So behind Prop 36, you have Home Depot, Walmart, Target, In-N-Out Burger, these large corporations that we patronize every day, and they're supporting this tough on crime legislation, but it really decimates communities of color to get people in prison to have the cheap labor forces, because all of them use prison labor. And so what Prop 6 does, Prop 6 undermines that and takes away the benefit and incentives for them to invest in tough on crime legislation that destroys communities of color. And so many people are being, fooled to think that they're focused on public safety, that they want to say yes on 36, not realizing that it's really harmful and it rolls back all of the reform efforts that we've accomplished in California for the last 10 years. And so though no one has come out flat out said we oppose ending slavery, there has been like a blurred line, like you said, a correlation between people wanting to support 36 and not really understanding the importance of saying yes on Prop 6 and no on 36.
Sam Brown, I thank you for sharing this. I actually have to give credit to my senior producer, Hein DeFreitas, who brought this to my attention. And I'm glad that you have this moment to share this with everybody across the country. Proposition 6 in California to end the slavery loophole in the state. Again, let's take a look at the California Constitution, where it says slavery is prohibited and voluntary servitude is prohibited except to punish crime. Sam Brown, thanks so much.